agencies at roughly 2 agencies a year.
Wow.
Yes. So this is insane. I bet there's like, I wonder if there's even one person who could even name all the 450 agencies at the federal level. There might be no one. But it's hardly anyone, let's just say. I bet most people couldn't even name like 100, you know? So this is crazy. So we've got this vast, suffocating federal bureaucracy that just gets bigger every year. And eventually you get to the point where everything's illegal. You can't get anything done. So
what can be done, like, with, obviously the president has a lot of power, but how much power, and what can be done in terms of like eliminating agencies, eliminating waste, eliminating...
Yeah, well, I mean, so if Congress has created an agency, then, often if you look at the law is like pretty simple. Like the agency has like a very simple task, but then that agency over time vastly increases its authority and starts doing things that were never authorized by Congress. That's happened with pretty much every agency. So yeah, you'd have to still, keep an agency. You'd have to match the law, but you can curtail the agencies to be much smaller and say you got to stick to what Congress authorized instead of all this other stuff you're doing, which I think makes sense.
And so is the other stuff they're doing just essentially bureaucracy run amok, where they just create jobs and create things to do and create a meaning for their existence?
Yeah. It's like a tumor. It's just going to keep growing.
Jesus Christ.
And it's so. I mean, as for SpaceX, Starship was sitting on the pad. The rocket, this giant rocket. We could build the rocket faster than they could process the paperwork to approve the launch. So we're sitting there for 2 months.
But do you think that they're doing that on purpose to fuck with you?
I mean, maybe a little, but I mean, that would also not be cool.
Yeah.
But another way to think of it is like the amount of paperwork is going to go roughly with the square of the number of agencies involved. So because they all have to meet with each other. So like, let's say in the best case situation, if you've got like if there's like, if you're dealing with one agency, that's one thing. But if you've got to deal with 5 agencies and the agencies all have to meet with each other, now you've got like 25 different meeting configurations that have to take place, and it just everything just you get just hardening of the arteries. You just can't make progress. Like this is why we can't build high speed rail in America. It's basically illegal.
Right. So this has been the argument has always been that we need regulation because we need to protect the environment, we need to protect people, we need to make sure the rule of law is followed. So we need a certain amount of regulation. But over-regulation is a giant problem. That's a big issue in California.
Yes.
It's a huge issue anywhere where bureaucracy has run amok. They make it very difficult to get anything done.
Yes. I mean, what happens is every year there are more rules and regulations created. And in the past, what has served as a cleansing function for rules and regulations is war. Because well, we're going to lose if we don't kind of clear the decks. But we haven't really had an existential threat of war in the U.S. We've had prosperity for a long time, which has resulted in a massive buildup of rules and regulations every year. And to the point where, like I said, like everything's illegal. And it's not like any one regulation is the problem. It's like Gulliver being tied down by a million little strings. It's not like any one string is the problem, but you got a million of them. So we've got to clear the decks here. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have regulators. I'm just saying we've gone way too far. One should think of regulators like referees on a field, a sports field. You don't want to have no refs. You want to have some number of refs, but you don't want to have way more refs than players.
Right.
You don't want to be like, well, the running back couldn't complete the pass because there were too many regulators in the way because the football field's full of regulators.
Yeah.
It's like you can't even play the game.
Right.
That's the issue we got right now.
Well, that's a great analogy. Yeah, I can imagine a football field that's filled with referees.
It's like the football field's filled with refs.
Yeah, you can't even run past them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I've seen criticism of this idea of you coming up with this department of like firing a bunch of people and what would happen and how would that work. But the criticism doesn't make any sense to me. Because if you can prove that there's a lot of wasted time and resources, which I think is pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
And if you could say that this is not the most efficient, like the most efficient businesses are generally private businesses or a company, because they kind of have to be in order to stay profitable.
Yeah.
The government doesn't have to be profitable.
Right.
They don't have to be efficient. They don't have competition.
Yep.
So if you're making cars and your cars break down, they suck, and someone makes cars and the cars are better, they're going to succeed. So this is the free market. The government doesn't have this problem when they're in charge of certain things that could probably be better served by the public, but by the private sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I just think we've got far too many government agencies. The federal bureaucracy has gotten out of hand, and we just need to pare it down to a sensible level. And if it turns out that like there's some regulation or